You win in fantasy football by identifying value. And today we're going to talk about values, but not just 1, 2, or 3, but 16. One for every single team in the NFC. Here are the best values for all 16 NFC teams. Giants running back Matt Breida isn't even selected in most drafts. And now this is a mistake because these are the remaining backs in the depth chart. Of course, Saquon is the starter, but then it's Gary Brightwell, who was a rookie last year, and Antonio Williams. These guys have a career 15 NFL touches. And then you factor in that Saquon has missed at least 3 games every year in 43% of his games since 2020. Now check out this next round 13 value. Jalen Tolbert currently goes as the 68th wide receiver off the board. And this is strange because Michael Gallup, his teammate, is expected to miss at least 6 weeks and probably more than half the season because he did not have surgery. He tore his ACL on January 2nd, did not have surgery until February 10th. It takes 9 to 12 months to recover. You're looking at October at the earliest for Gallup. And Tolbert isn't just this fill-in wide receiver. No, he was a 3rd round pick who had a top 4% of all-time Dominator rating. You don't see these that often, especially from 1st round picks. And a Dominator rating is the percentage of your overall team's yards, that production that you are personally producing. So again, take a look at this number. The majority of the production, over 50%, went to Tolbert. And that breaks down to what you saw last year, almost 1,500 yards. It was the 2nd most of any drafted receiver behind just Jameson Williams, who, was a 1st round pick. And to be honest with you, Tolbert doesn't have that much competition. If you assume behind CeeDee Lamb, it's guys like James Washington, who's lost his job in Pittsburgh twice in 4 years to both Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. It's guys like Simeon Foco, who didn't see a target last year as a rookie. Noah Brown, who has just 39 career receptions. So Tolbert's a great value, and this next running back goes even later. So Kenneth Gainwell, the Eagles' backup running back, he actually scores, get this, 33% more points when Miles Sanders is active. And this is because, if you could see this right here, of course it's a small sample of just 5 games, 1 season for Gainwell as a rookie, but he sees 4 targets compared to 1.6, 150% more targets when Sanders is active. And this is because he sees less carries and he's using the passing game more. And we like that because a target is worth almost 3 times as much as an attempt in fantasy football. Plus, as a rookie in a split backfield with a mobile quarterback, he still saw over 1 red zone attempt per game, 20 total on the season. So here's your takeaway. Gainwell has the rare but deadly combo of targets and red zone work. And this next running back's pass catching usage is even better. So last year, the Indianapolis Colts under Carson Wentz targeted running backs 23% of the time. That was Wentz, and that is above the league average, a top 10 rate in the league. And now this is great news for JD McKissic, who over the last 2 seasons ranks 3rd amongst all running backs in total receptions, more than Leonard Fournette, more than DeAndre Swift. And what makes it even sweeter is that the Commanders in Washington just made him a top 20 paid running back. $3.5 million for a backup or a role player is a lot more than average. Usually you see 1 or 2 million. And for reference, it's 3 times more than any other running back makes on this team. And this is where the value comes in. He somehow goes as the 57th running back off the board, which is 10 rounds later than Antonio Gibson, his teammate. So secure JD before your friends catch on, and also secure this next quarterback, because Kyler Murray ranked 3rd in fantasy points per drop back last year. So every time he dropped back, that's how many points he generated. 0.61, 3rd overall. You compare this to Patrick Mahomes, who ranked 10th overall, and now Mahomes loses Tyreek Hill. Yet in terms of average draft position, Kyler goes 11 picks later, about a round later than Mahomes, even though everything is showing that he has better production. So Murray is a great mid-round quarterback option, and this next guy's a great late-round running back option. Falcons rookie running back Tyler Ragio was a top 1% college producer. He had total yards factoring in his receiving game work, 1,800 total last year, which was more than the first running back off the board, Breece Hall. And then you factor in that Atlanta doesn't have a clear workhorse running back on their depth chart. Let's discuss this because you have Damien Williams, who signed for the veteran minimum around $1 million, but he only has 40 rushing attempts the last 2 years. He sat out in 2020. And then there's Cordell Patterson, who was fantastic last year, very efficient, but he was 28th in total carries, and his per game carries, 9.6, ranked 45th amongst running backs. And this means there's available work for the rookie Algier. So you can snag him in round 13, and then you're going to want this next late round quarterback. I think he's the best one. And it's Justin Fields, who averaged 35 rushing yards per game. But if you factor in just his starts, it was 38 rushing yards per game, which was 4th in the league. And now starting quarterbacks who rush for over 35 yards per game, on average, the last 10 years finished top 10 the next season. But Justin Fields currently goes outside the top 10 and even the top 15 as the 16th overall quarterback. And this next running back goes even later than that. So Alexander Madison, in 6 career games where Dalvin Cook has missed, averages 20.4 fantasy points per contest. And this number would have ranked 3rd overall amongst all running backs last year. And this is important to note because Dalvin Cook has never played a fully healthy season, missing at least 2 games every year. And there's some talk about second-year player Kenny Ngannou factoring in this year, but as of right now, he's still recovering from injury. So Madison goes in round 11, but this next wide receiver goes 2 rounds later, and that's DJ Shark, who is now going to start for the Detroit Lions to begin 2022. And that's because Jameson Williams is expected to be out until potentially around Halloween because he tore his ACL in January. And that Halloween deadline puts Williams out for probably at least 6 to 8 weeks, if not more. And as a rookie, he's probably going to take some time to get caught up to speed after that. Bonus for DJ Shark, who will get chemistry with Jared Goff. And Shark has only had 2 seasons when he's healthy as a starter. His first year he was a rookie, he didn't start. The next 2 years he finished 19th and 40th, and then he got hurt after 2 games last year. So in those 2 seasons he averages like a wide receiver 30 finish. But right now if we look at it, he's currently going as the 69th wide receiver off the board, which is confusing to me. And what's even more confusing is that this next wide receiver goes 2 rounds later in round 15. Because this might sound crazy and it might not sound like the trendy thing to say, but Sammy Watkins has a real shot to be Aaron Rodgers' #1 wide receiver. And a lot of it has to come down to his competition. We can start with a darling in Allen Lazard, who, look, I personally love Lazard. I think he's a fantastic run blocker. He's very versatile in his skill set. He's a bigger slot guy, but look, he was 80th in yards per out run last year. He is not efficient. And then you get the rookie Kirsten Watson. They drafted in the 2nd round, traded up for him. They tried to trade into the 1st round with their division rivals, the Vikings, but they said, oh, no, we're not letting you get that 5th-year option. And Watson is very athletic, but there's a good chance he doesn't even start. He comes from a small school. He's a guy who's very raw product, 105 career college receptions. That's it. And then there's Randall Cobb, Aaron Rodgers' buddy, who only has 37 yards per game he's averaged the last 2 years, and his efficiency continues to drop with age. And Watkins doesn't even have to end up being the #1 receiver for the Packers because he goes outside the top 75 receivers. Heck, if he just has a decent year, scores a couple of touchdowns, he's going to pay off for you. But he's not the only value in round 15 because Robbie Anderson right now has the 3rd highest cap hit on the Panthers. Assuming he doesn't retire like he's saying on social media, they're going to need to play him. They're incentivized to play him. And this is interesting because Robbie Anderson, the last 2 seasons, yeah, he ranks 12th amongst all receivers in targets, and he's right around the range of your McLaurins, your Metcalfs, your Brandon Cooks. These are guys who go in the 3rd and 4th round of fantasy drafts, and he has more during that time than CeeDee Lamb and Mike Evans if we were to scroll down this list. But that's not all, because as you could see from my reaction to the Baker Mayfield trade on Twitter here, 31% of Robbie Anderson's targets last year were deemed uncatchable. The reason for this, the reason for the worst rate of his career from a catchable target standpoint, and this was because Sam Darnold ranked dead last in accuracy rating, and it's important to call out, Baker Mayfield will be the starter. They said there's a camp battle. They're not trading for him for no reason. He's going to be the starter. And what I say right here, you can't keep his last year against him. It was extremely painful just to get out of bed. And this guy was playing quarterback in the NFL week in and week out. Now let's take a look at this next rookie running back that you're going to want in the later rounds. And that's going to be Tampa Bay's Rashad White, who is immediately the RB2 on this team. And his 19% college target share, the percentage of targets that he saw, which for a running back is phenomenal, was the most of any running back drafted the last 3 years. And it's worth mentioning, Fournette has never played a full season in the NFL. In the last 2 years, he's missed 20% of his games. But White isn't the only late round running back worth drafting, because another Rashad Penny, was the #1 efficiency running back last year. It was on a smaller sample, but very impressive. And no other running back scored more points than Penny the final 7 weeks of the year. So this isn't a small sample now of just the last 3 games. No, this is the second half of the year, the last 7 games. And then you add in that Seattle made Penny a top 15 paid running back, guaranteeing him more than $5 million in salary, and they're incentivized to use him this year, even if they drafted Kenneth Walker. And that rookie Kenneth Walker currently goes, even though Penny was that good last year, just got all the money, he still goes 10 picks before Penny. I personally believe Penny is the starter out there. Now let's check out a value running back in the 6th round who has top 10 upside. And that man's name is Elijah Mitchell, whose 81% opportunity share, the amount of targets and carries that he saw compared to his backfield mates, was the 3rd highest in the NFL last year. Elite. And that rate ranks 1st for any running back that Kyle Shanahan has ever coached, which is impressive because he normally uses a lot of different backs, but the one thing that he does like from his running backs, and he'll use you more, we saw with Raheem Mostert, is speed. And Elijah Mitchell last year at the Combine, when he ran a 4.4, was top 4% of all time. And a quick reminder that he was a rookie last year and he earned this much trust. And as you can see here in my top 200, I currently have Elijah Mitchell 11 spots ahead of consensus. I have him as like a mid 5th round pick, but he goes in the mid 6th. And if you want to check out that top 200, some tiers, some rankings, a whole lot more in this year's draft day cheat sheet. And I'll throw in a $20 Amazon gift card sent to your email. And if you don't like the cheat sheet, I'll fully refund you and you can keep the gift card. All you have to do is go to the link in the description and follow these 2 quick steps. So check out that link below to get the sheet, the $20 gift card, and to learn more. So we identified that Elijah Mitchell was a value, but this next value wide receiver goes 13 picks later. And that's Michael Thomas. If he is able to practice at any point in July, he will become an instant value, because an ankle injury that Thomas suffered on December 16, 2020, yes, almost 2 years ago at this point, it is still affecting him, but he's making progress. It's affected him to the point where he's only played 7 games. He's missed 79% of his games since the beginning of 2020 or the end of 2019. But if he's able to return, it's wheels up, because Jameis Winston is more than capable, and believe it or not, he basically scores 18.5 versus 18.7, the same amount of fantasy points with or without Drew Brees. That's how good this guy is when healthy. Now check out this tight end who goes in round 14, but has top 10 upside. So last year, Tyler Higbee was 6th overall in routes run. He had the 6th most usage of any tight end. And he led all tight ends in red zone targets with 20. So there's a lot of upside here. He's on the field a lot and he's getting used in the red zone. We like that. And it's worth mentioning that Higbee had a better target rate, the amount of times he was target when he ran a route, than Dawson Knox, who goes 63 picks before him in drafts. And another bonus is that Tyler Higbee has no competition. Kendall Blanton, Bryson Hopkins, Jacob Harris, all of these second, third, fourth plus year players that are behind him on this depth chart, if you go down 5 tight ends down, they only have a combined 5 NFL catches, just 5. So there you go, a value for every single NFC team that your friends probably won't know about, but this is just the half of it. If you want to see the values in the AFC, then check out this video right here. And by the time you watch that video, you'll know 100% of the fantasy football values.